Hey y'all, welcome back to Yell Respectfully with Ashlee, presented by Just Awesome Because Productions. And today I'm talking about the Lakers and Mavericks matchup on April 9th. The NBA is like on the tail end. In fact, I think all of the teams have about 3 to 2 games left in the season. So the Lakers are playing Dallas in Dallas. This is the first time that Luka has had to play. This is the first time that Luka has had to play the Mavericks in Dallas. They played before, but it was in LA. And so this is the first time essentially Luka has been back. They started it off with a tribute video. Now, here's the thing. Before they even let the video play, they had the camera on Luka, and Luka asked for something. In the moment, I didn't know what he asked for. As you just see later on, you realize that he asked for a towel. And it's like he knew. As they're showing the video, it starts off with when he first got drafted, 18, 19 years old. His face, he just looks young and just childish. I in no way mean that in a bad way, but just if you see Luka now, Luka looks like a man now. He has a family, he has a kid. I think he has one kid. His face has defined itself now. He looked like a teenager when they drafted him, and now he looks like a man. And it just they started with the videos of when he was just literally just a kid from Slovenia. And so they started off with the tribute video, and I was tearing up, which I'm not a huge crier, but I was I could feel the emotions of it. And then they pointed the camera at Luka watching the tribute. He had glassy eyes, and his little chin and lip was doing a little quiver, and I was just I was a mess. I was like, oh no, and I was like, sorry, we're just gonna cry together. I had the urge to be like, LeBron, go hug him. He needs a hug. Because LeBron has been through this multiple times. Yeah, it was emotional, and I think ultimately because you have to, you cannot ignore the fact that he got shipped out of Dallas. He did not request a trade or anything like that. He got shipped out of Dallas. So it was emotional. Now, here's the thing. It was emotional also in the sense of when the Lakers do their lineup, the whole intro thing, LeBron is usually the last one. They've let Luka be last a couple of times. I think it was his first game, and then when they played Dallas in LA, and then this one, I don't know if there's any other times, but usually LeBron is the last person. And Luka has been vocal about thanks guys, the few times that they've let Luka been last, that he's thank you, but that spot is for LeBron. Now, of course, there's been games where LeBron doesn't play, and so other things like that, but essentially it's just it's just so many things. It's very emotional. In fact, I think the other kind of big one I saw, which was when Clay went back to the Warriors. And I'm making that distinction because they kind of did a list of players that go back to the place and when they play. Again, this situation is just so unique, right? When LeBron left the Cavs the first time, it was not a happy occasion for Cleveland fans. When he left the second time after giving them a ring, it was a much different situation, right? When Kevin Durant left OKC, the Thunder, I think he was originally drafted as Seattle, but just the way that franchise is, I believe it was OKC Thunder at that point. When he left OKC to go to the Warriors, when he came back, it was mixed. It was mixed reactions. Some people were like, oh, cupcake, yada, yada, yada. Some people were like, thank you, KD, for all the time, yada, yada, yada. But in this case, it's just yeah, this was Luka's house, and it was supposed to be Luka's house for a long time, most likely the whole time. And then for that not to happen, not on his terms, it's different. I so respect the fans because I think they showed Luka so much love. And again, it's just one of those things where him as a player had nothing to do with his trade. It's just a lot of times, especially guys in the league who used to be in the league that are now commentating and stuff, they kind of say the business of basketball. Sure, I think this kind of goes a little bit beyond that just because of again, the caliber of player Luka is and his staple in the community. Yeah, in Dallas, like yes, all the things. But I really want to commend the crowd because a lot of them were wearing Luka shirts. And apparently it had like thanks for everything in Slovenian, where he's from. For the most part, the crowd was beyond respectful to the point of like, I think the commentators were saying, and I kind of felt this as way. They're like, the Dallas Maverick players must be feeling a little bit weird because it's a home game, but they were cheering so hard for Luka. Now, here's the thing. There were a lot of Laker fans at this game as well. Apparently, they were saying that there's a lot of Californians or just Laker fans in general that live in Texas and they go to the games. And then on top of that, like, generally speaking, like people travel to this was like a hot ticket game, you know? So there was a lot of love for the Lakers in general, and then just so much love for Luka. So I don't even think he kind of got like the tortured, oh, you left us kind of vibe that most players have when they go back to their old team. And I love that for him because again, he didn't like have an active part in him getting traded. Say all that to say, so many emotions, everything's running high. I think JJ Redick even mentioned that like as they were tipping off, like Luka still was a little teary eyed, right? Like just looking at his face and kind of knowing his normal demeanor on the court, he kind of just still looked kind of out of it mentally in terms of like trying to shake off all of that emotions, right? Homeboy played so well, like so well. I noticed from the very beginning of the game that LeBron kind of just like went all in, like he was really trying to score. He was being very aggressive, and I think it was to kind of just take the pressure off of Luka to perform and have a good game if didn't need be. He didn't even need that. Here's the stat line of Luka. He played 38 minutes, 45 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and in that 45 points, he made 7 threes. He had like a 30-point first quarter, I believe. I mean, first half. I want to say it was 30 or 31, but he had a big bucket first half. Now, here's the thing. It's not just about Luka and the Lakers. They played the Mavericks, and it was a good game. Dallas ended the first half up by 4, and I believe they ended the first quarter up as well. Like, it was a good game. Very close contested. I don't want to say they necessarily went back and forth. They went back and forth in terms of, like, scoring consistently, but for the most part, Dallas was up for that. I want to say all, if not the mass majority of that first half. Jason Kidd did his thing as a coach, right? He used his team's size to his advantage as much as possible. You had Kate, you had AD, which of course was a part of the Luka trade, and that's why he's in Dallas now. You had AD, you had Daniel Gafford, who I love. I'm so like to this day, I'm so happy they rescued him out of Washington because I used to randomly watch Washington games to watch Daniel. And now that he's on a team that has a chance, no disrespect to the current Washington team, because that's not the team that he was on originally. But anyway, yes. They had Gafford. Najee was balling all game, playing very, very well. Of course, Max Christie, which is also involved in that Laker-Dallas trade. I love Christie. I liked him when he was a Laker. I like him now that he's on Dallas. I actually think he has a little bit more time and room to shine. And I think we've seen that in general, teams in general, but also specifically on Dallas, that like you had players that maybe weren't on teams that worked in their best interest. And then in Dallas, J Kidd and that team and that system really helps unlock these guys to play to their top potential. So all that to say, it was a really, really good game, and Dallas had a lot of size. It's funny because I feel like the Lakers in general are a bigger team and they can use their size against other players. But I think if you just look at the Dallas lineup, you know that is a very paint heavy, size heavy team. And of course, there's downfalls in other areas. Like for instance, they don't necessarily have a true point guard. I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone on their roster, but Kyrie's out, and of course he's going to be a main one. But like the guys that they have handling the ball, I don't think that's necessarily their main or quote unquote best attribute. But of course they can and they do, and they were what they got. But you know, I feel like, not necessarily the downfall, but I think the opposite of the fact of them having so much size and loading up the paint is that they don't necessarily have an extremely strong perimeter that can kind of do their own thing. Of course, you have a Dinwiddie, but I think they're saying that they use a Dinwiddie more as a shooting guard type vibe, he does act as their point guard, but that, again, that's not his like best slash main attribute. So either way, I thought Jason Kidd played the Lakers extremely well. And listen, JJ as well, give him his flowers as a coach. I think how they did, and they trapped, and how they tried to deny balls, and definitely tried to deny AD and other big guys in the paint from even getting the ball and posting them up and everything. I thought that it was a good game. It was a good basketball game. If you are a casual fan, you can enjoy some of the big highlights. And if you were like an in-depth fan, I think you can enjoy the fact that this had the X and O's kind of vibes in terms of strategy, and depending on the personnel on the floor, depending on how they adjusted. And I think that was like a really beautiful thing to watch. Of course, we know the mind that Jason Kidd has as a player and as a coach. And I think JJ Redick, it's his first year as the Lakers head coach, and I think he is doing a really great job. Like, I kind of always say you can't super judge a coach on one season. In JJ's case, I think you should judge him off of one season. I think he's doing a really, really great job with the Lakers. But yeah, it was a really, really good game. It was pretty close. The Lakers, oh my gosh. So Lakers were up. And then somehow it's like tied, then they're down, then it's one score, alternate. Anyway, it was a really, really close game. It was a really good game. There's a couple runs back and forth. I think both coaches and teams did a great job. I think both coaches did a fantastic job with their timeouts. I feel like when I watch basketball, there's a couple of times where I just naturally be like, yo, timeout. You stop the momentum. And I feel like both coaches did a phenomenal job of managing the game in that regard. And then also just like player rest sessions and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought it was really, really good game. It was really cute to see AD, Braun, and like Jackson Hayes like joking together. I thought that was really, really cool. I didn't know what they were saying on the court as they said it, but of course on social media they kind of showed the quote. Whether it's confirmed or not, I'm not sure, but it was kind of like they hadn't inbounded the ball yet, and AD was down in the paint, Jackson Hayes was down there too, and LeBron was kind of lingering nearby. And then so, Jackson Hayes starts to like push up on AD, not in a fouling capacity, but just, you're touching the players so you know where they are kind of thing in a defensive scheme because they haven't inbounded the ball yet. And then so AD says something like, "Oh, Jax, you can't push me because then I'm a fall and I'm a flop like Braun," or something like that, right? And then LeBron goes, "Jax, you can't push AD because if you push him, he's gonna get injured," which is just like. Listen, I don't know if that's confirmed or not. I just thought it was hilarious. I saw it on socials, on threads. And it's just one of those things where I just love that these guys are at the point where they can kind of like laugh and stuff about this now. I wasn't in the locker room before. I'm not in the locker room now. I don't know where they stand as individuals in terms of that relationship. Things change. There's no way around it. I say it all the time. You have some friendships, you have some associations, you have some interactions that are just like born to be based on proximity. So I think when guys get traded, no matter how close you are to that team, it's going to be a different shift. It has nothing to do with how much you love each other or anything like that. It has just everything to do with the fact that you literally no longer live in the same place you previously did. You no longer have built-in practices and schedules and travel sessions together like you did before. So it's going to be a different dynamic. I really love like seeing the guys in the off season and who they hang out with. I think that's really indicative of like who their actual friend circles are beyond just their teammates. Say that to say is that it was really cute for me as a fan of AD. I was a fan of him when he was on the Pelicans. For me as a fan of AD and knowing how much time he spent on the Laker roster, brought us a ring in 2020. I'm saying us because I've been a Laker fan since I was 3 years old. So I just love to see that little camaraderie in a cute moment on the court. And then of course afterwards, Luka, it was so hard just to kind of get him even for an on-camera interview because the whole stadium basically wants to hug him, shake hands, wish him well, cute Mark Cuban, all these things like that, all the other team members. It was just really, really sweet to see. Now, Lisa Saunders did an interview with Luka, and this is a direct quote, and I kind of just like to hear it, and it was just interesting to kind of see it in a moment. So, of course, Lisa asked about his emotions before the game, during the game, all the things like that. And sum it up, basically, he said in the end, about the Dallas Maverick fans, he said, "I love these fans. I love this city, but it's time to move on." And I felt that too. He's basically saying thank you, but he is on another team and he is going to continue living his life. He's going to continue playing basketball. So that means that his existence in America, for the most part, is now for at least during the season. What he does in the off season is whatever he wants to do. But at least during the season is going to revolve around Los Angeles. And even when Luka first got here off the trade, still not even having a place to stay, because he was mentioning, he's like, I got to figure out, where I'm going to live. He donated the relief efforts after regarding the California wildfires. You know what I mean? And I mentioned a little bit earlier that in Dallas, Luka was a big part of the community. Like, he was a part of his community. He'd been in that area for so long. And listen, I don't want to say it's not something special, but basketball players in certain teams, when they're in their cities, they all do this. They have the basketball cares department. Like, there's so many things about these players giving back. I'm not belittling it, you know what I mean? And I'm also just not glossing over it. Saying that to say, I think it was kind of like a final closing chapter of this very emotional big trade thing, in the sense of like, it's happened. We've done the milestones. We've done the things. I've come back. I've played. He played extremely well and won. Thank you, because we need the seedings for Lakers in the Western Conference. And it's just like, it's time to move on, in the sense of like, he's playing on a different team. They have very strong playoff aspirations. It's a memory and it's experience that is lived and it's had, and you live with that and you keep moving forward. And I don't think that was any way disrespectful in any regard. And I think that was just a beautiful summary of what this experience was for Luka. Now, Brian Windhorst on ESPN later did say, and I thought this was such an interesting take. He said, tonight, Luka became a Laker. And it was like, oh. But if you think about it, yeah, Luka went back to his old team in his old arena and put some heavy hitting numbers against his quite literal recent old teammates and old coach. And yeah, I mean, I will say this, as a Lakers fan, I've been accepted like Luka on the team. But yeah, it kind of did feel a little bit like a final moment. Again, not going to put a timeline on his emotional processing as an individual, as a human. From a basketball perspective, it definitely feels and felt like he was representing the Los Angeles Lakers and representing them well in the pursuit of winning for our team, even at the expense and quite literally against his old team. Yeah, I'm so excited. The playoffs are right around the corner. With this win, it actually really positions the Lakers in a great position to potentially get that number 3 seed. So here's the thing. The seeding is so like important / crazy / kind of like whatever. But in that Western Conference, the seeding kind of matters like a lot, right? So selfishly, I want the Lakers and the Warriors in the playoffs. With that, I don't want them playing each other in the first round. So when they were 4 and 5, I was like, great, you're in the playoffs currently at seeded, but you're playing each other first round. So that's like, no bueno. So now if the Lakers move up to 3, I would like the Warriors to maybe get that 5th spot. But now the Warriors over here playing games and they're losing a couple of games. So, oh my God, like there's 2 or 3 games left in the season for all the teams. And especially in that Western Conference, like every single game matters because it directly impacts the seedings. That 3 to 8 slots in terms of seeding on the in the Western Conference, you can go from being 3 to 8 quite literally in the play-in by like missing up a game or 2. So there's a lot of implications, a lot of things going on with that. We're gonna keep an eye on it to the end of the season. I'm very excited for playoffs. I'm an NBA fan, and I do watch like the whole season. But I just feel like I get extra excited during the postseason. And I've said this before, the play-in when they created that the new element, I believe it started in the bubble. I want to say it started in the bubble. They created it because of like the COVID year thing, and they've kept it since. And I love it. I know there's some people that still don't like it. I absolutely love it. I think it adds more meaning to the end of the season, especially for some teams that may not have the best record, because you still have a shot to get to the playoffs. Like there's a couple of teams that have shut down, but look at how late they shut down, whereas they probably would have shut down several other games ago already. So I feel like it kind of holds off the tanking and shutdown mode of several teams for a little bit longer, and it keeps the games competitive. And especially in cases like seedings of, like, for instance, before it's just like, oh yeah, I'm in the playoffs, but now it's like, you're in the playoffs, but you could also be in the play-in, so you still got to play hard through the end of the season. I think OKC, which is the number 1 seed, and they have played so well all season. I just want to show some love to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because on the Eastern Conference, they have been almost, I think, just as dominant. I have to see what their records are. I forget what their win-loss records are on top of my head. But yes, those 2 teams have been dominant in the NBA all season. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, whew, what the Cleveland Cavaliers coach and team has done in the sense of, hey, you as a player step back so other teammates can get theirs too, and it just collectively made everybody better. Chef's kiss. Anyway, yeah, so the Western Conference, the seedings are crazy. I'm going to be locked in. I believe Sunday is the last day of regular season games, and then we'll actually know the official seedings of everything. I'm locked in for the play-in tournament as well. But yes, I'm very, very excited for NBA postseason. And our regular season is almost done. This game between the Lakers and the Mavericks was extremely emotional. Very, very high energy throughout. I just really want to give a quick shout out to the fans in Dallas, because I feel like they treated the situation so well. The Dallas Mavericks team itself, they may have felt a little bit weird having a home game with an away game kind of energy towards them, but I feel like they were so very respectful to Luka, and it was definitely kind of like okay, it happened. We're still trying to, emotionally recover from it, but we still have to keep moving forward. I mean that for them as a fan base, the team as a franchise, Luka as an individual, and then just collectively all around. So it was a really, really good game. As a fan, I was locked in, and I greatly enjoyed it. And I'm happy for Luka that he did play well. Because I think when they played the first time, I believe the Lakers won, but Luka didn't play amazing, but they still won, But this one, I think, like, he goes to sleep feeling good about the play and all that stuff like that. So yes. Again, still hoping for the Lakers having a very, very high, somewhat high, an appropriate seeding to have maximum effect in the playoffs. But okay, y'all, make sure you come back next time. Remember to yell respectfully. Bye.